Welcome to the podcast, Robert. It's great to have you on. Do you mind giving us a quick overview of your role as Chief Revenue Officer at Nsight?
Sure, Alex. Thanks for having me. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Nsight. We are a healthcare technology company, services company, based in Florida, but predominantly most of the company, if not all the company, is 100% remote, based in the U.S. We provide services around remote patient monitoring and chronic care management. So what we do is we connect with different levels of healthcare around cardiology, pulmonology, nephrology, GPs, and anyone who has a customer or patient base of elderly patients with one or more chronic conditions. And what we offer is a service to basically monitor them and keep and give their providers a level of visibility that they didn't have before, where those patients, like I said, have more than one chronic disease. They don't always get to their provider as often as we'd wish, or by the time they do, there's usually something really elevated that could have been avoided. So we offer a service that basically helps monitor them in real time on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, 365, 7 days a week for our staff. And again, we provide a level of visibility in monitoring patients that have a tendency to have chronic conditions get worse.
Interesting. Solving a real problem. And so in terms of, obviously your background in, across multiple different companies and now coming into Nsight Health over the last 10 months or so. What's that look like for you coming into the company?
It's exciting because I started my career out in healthcare. I did about almost 10 years with Johnson & Johnson, where I was in the device space with them, and was very fortunate to have great training from them. And then I was involved with some gentlemen that we broke away and built a company within Johnson & Johnson under our own blanket, our own shield. And but we stayed exclusive distributors of them. And what we really focused on was we had the technical knowledge from them. We focused on the sales and go-to-market piece. And we thought we did that quite well. And it went exceptionally well. We started out with, I think, 5 guys that we were doing about 2.2 million in revenue. When we started, when I left 5 years later to build my own, we had over 40 people, and I think we did just under 60 million in revenue, all with the same company. So it really bloomed, and I learned a lot about how to build and systematize sales, both from the people component and then the go-to-market strategy. From there, did a couple different things. Had my own startup for a while in the EHR space. Went into always had a background in sales and psychology, so business and psych were always my 2 passions. But was able to form those into a process that now I can teach people, and I've been able to show that it's pretty much product and company agnostic. Because if you look at my background, I've been able to bounce around different verticals, and it really doesn't matter because the teaching and the training and the providing I do to people is basically based on self-management. And then I have a marketing component that I have my team. I have a strategy around retention, go-to-market, cross-sell, upsell, and everything. So for the last 5 or 6 years, I've done it to where I come into companies that are either usually stage B, series B, where it's about 30, 40 million in revenue. So it's not too early. So there's some good foundation to it, and then help boost and grow sales, marketing, and revenue exponentially on relatively short timelines, whether it's for an event that they're trying to bring about or just get to the next milestone where they go from 30 million to 80 to 100.
Yeah, super interesting. And in terms of your go-to-market approach and strategy, what does that look like when you're coming into a new company?
Yeah, so I try to take a multi-layered approach. I'm in the belief that there's a couple things. I think marketing is same side of the coin as sales. As the other side of that coin is customer success and management. So what I try to do is I try to look at what good already looks like at these companies I go into, find out what good looks like, and then pour gas on the things where I think we can expand. So selfishly, I try to look at good companies that I can help make great in a short period of time, and then maybe carry some equity, or once the systems are in place, maybe I can either move on, or if they want me to take a leadership position full time, that's what I do. But what I have now is that I make sure we have 3 lead gen arms very quickly, high velocity lead gen arms. And I'll give you a case in Nsight because it's worked. It's worked fantastically. We have SDRs, sales development reps, which make about 100, 150 calls a day minimum. They book 2 appointments each. We have a whole team of those. And then I have my marketing team that I've worked with. The head of my marketing team, I've worked with her now at 4 different companies. And then I have a channel team that I built when I was here with the head of the channel department. And we have those on top of the CSM team, the customer success management team, that monitors all the existing accounts and looks to grow net new revenue, GRR, as well. So you need really high velocity lead gen to get through the door. And you have, when you tackle it with those three ways, you have the people component in the SDRs making calls all day, sending out outbound emails. You have the marketing component that kind of blankets the whole thing. And we could do ABM, target marketing, all different types of drag marketing, geofencing and such to hit different targets, niche targets. And then we have the channel to look at another way to provide air support to bring in partnerships via EHR companies, medical billing companies and such. And I'm always looking top of funnel. So if I need my team to hit a certain quota by month, I usually personally try to shoot for, we need about 3 to 4x in the pipeline, which a lot of people think is drastic, but I think I'll sleep better when that happens, because if you're at 1 to 2x, there's still that risk that you're gonna miss the number. So I always like to over plan. But when those three lead gen engines are really cranking, 3 to 4x is very, very possible. And then you can you get to a point where a lot of CEOs tend to call predictive revenue. And that's where we found ourselves in right now. On top of all of that, you also establish an enterprise committee where Nsight didn't have that before, because we built our company on the backs of 1 to 2 doc practices. However, we got really good at scale really quickly, which a lot of companies in our vertical, that's not their thing. They're not as good as we are at scaling as fast as we want. And my background is also enterprise sales through the SaaS world. So I recently, when I got here a couple months, connected with the people that I know who worked with me in the past that can do that better than anybody, and brought them over. And now our target demographic has gotten dramatically bigger, because now we're targeting health systems, hospitals, healthcare groups. So when you take all these things together, again, it adds to top of funnel. So the more top of funnel you can have, the more data it gives you, the more ways it analyzes what better targets are, how to go to market and such. And we've been very fortunate enough in the 10 months that I've been here, those have worked and worked quite well.
Yeah, that's amazing insights, Robert. And in terms of building that team, what have been, I guess, some of the challenges in terms of doing that repeatedly?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'll give you the secret sauce, because I'm kind of an old dog in the sense that I don't like to go into places and reinvent the wheel. I'm not really ego driven, where in a sense I don't want to go in and say, oh yeah, I did this. Personally, I have I'm blessed with a very good network, a great network of people that when I figure out what I need to get done here, I have a list of people that are top of their field and what they do, that I can bring them over usually, because I have a very high level of trust with a close group of people that have worked together in some capacity like this 3-4 times before. So the systems that we have, it's pretty much wash and repeat. And they're basically experts in what they do. So I'm the type of person that says, listen, I know what you do. I know what I need to get. I know you're the person to do it. Tell me what you need. I'll get you over here and I'll get out of your way. And that's how it's worked here too. I brought in 3 or 4 colleagues that I've worked at 3 or 4 different companies with, where we're tasked to do the same things. Tara comes in for marketing, Juan comes in for customer success. Now Kyle does the SDR part, Rich does the quant and analytics, and it's wash and repeat. And when it works, the longer we've worked together, the faster we've been able to do that. And Nsight's a great case study, because I got here in late May. We turned the jets on immediately. Blessing of the CEO, he said, do whatever you do. Here's what, spend whatever you need to. And I got that team in place, and we literally started cranking in June, and we haven't looked back. So it's been very, very, very fortunate to have the same crew do it at this level, and we actually only done it better and faster.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, moving quickly is obviously super important, and in terms of revenue growth, moving fast is extremely important. A lot of people will wait and see what will happen, and before they make decisions like that in their top of funnel and lead gen. Over obviously the last 5 or 10 years, there's been a lot of changes in that sales element of especially SDRs, cold calling, as you mentioned, and some outbound emails. How do you see that changing in 2025? Do you see it still being as successful, or
Yeah.
do you think that there's some changes that need to be made in terms of sales and marketing approaches for companies going into 2025 and then also 2026?
I do think you are seeing a significant change. However, as the old guard, I still stand by, I love the new changes and new technologies that are coming in to supplement. I think that's a good way to look at them. I don't think it's a total replacement, because Nsight is a great example of the human component. For instance, a lot of companies are getting into AI and AI outbound and such. And me, even as a chief revenue officer 3 times, I still take a ton of calls because I love hearing people's pitch. And the second a call comes and I say hello or I say yes, and there's a delay followed by a beep and then a voice comes on, you know it's an AI, I hang up immediately. So until we get that kind of squared away, I think that technology is not going to overwhelm what the human component can do. And we take a very hands-on approach in the sense that we personally coach all the people we hire. We give them scripts, not to deviate off of, but to use as a foundation. And these scripts are based on empathy, how to read tonality, body language. These are all things that normal salespeople don't do that I think are absolutely imperative to being really great at the craft. We bring an outside company in to test them on how to view with different assessments, how to view rejection and such. And we put a lot of that into the scripts. And then as they get better and better, they can deviate from the script, keeping it as their foundation, but they understand how to move with what they're given. That's really hard to teach an AI. I mean, we've worked with some AI companies, we're working with some now, that even that, there's still that little hurdle, right? How long did it take Google to synthesize voice reactions and such? It took years. So I think we're still a ways away from it. Now, I also think though that AI is very helpful with certain parts of our business, like adherence and just check-in calls and such. But when it comes to the lead gen engine, I love the fact that, I'll be honest with you, I have a meeting 5 days a week with my team, all my salespeople, and we go over things like this and we can tweak and make adjustments in real time based off the successes. We keep a ton of metrics. And if we notice that someone's struggling in one area, we coach them on it. We pull them aside, ask them what's going on, what do they need help with. And so much of that is not technology driven other than the data. Most of it is being able to read the room to build trust on short timelines and such. So I think if you have a company where you're willing to put in the time, the effort, or find someone that has this playbook, those are still your best options in conjunction with trying these other things. I'm not saying there's not one silver bullet that fits all. I mean, I just told you, we use multiple levels of building a high velocity lead engine. I usually favor the humanity component of it. I like working with people and coaching them because we can see those results change and improve very quickly. Whereas with AI driven, there's tests, there's A/B tests and everything like that. And I think AI, is in the space. I still think it's dominated predominantly by the human component because the human element, especially in sales, it's still everything. You know, it's still so critically important instead of just multiple data points. And as you know, Alex, if you haven't seen it, I'm not a talker. So if I keep rambling about it, I get excited about topics. So if you need to cut me off at any point, don't hesitate.
No, it's great, Robert, and yeah, really good to hear your thoughts on that. I totally agree there. It's obviously AI. I've gotten calls before from quite well known companies as well, and it's quite it's kind of odd when you get the call from AI. So I don't think it's going to be replacing full-time
I
SDRs
agree.
or whatever, as long as those SDRs are actually producing results. Obviously, it could
100%.
replace.
I couldn't agree more. And that's why I don't like to say we micromanage, but we do monitor the metrics because the great thing is with making 150 calls a day, 120 calls a day, right? Even if you do 100, you're getting a lot of data points. You got 20 to 30 guys in that crew. That's a lot of data that you're capturing in real time. So by the end of the week, I can look at this with my team and my sales ops head, Rich Martinez, who is simply outstanding at looking at the data and telling the story. And that's where your career and I think your level of improvement can jump, because if you can understand those data points and articulate where the changes need to be made, that's when you're really cooking with gas. And until you teach yourself how to do that or find people that can teach you how to do that, you're kind of swimming upstream because you're basically doing what everybody else is, and you're going to spend a lot of money and you're going to waste a lot of time trying to figure out what good could look like at your organization.
Yeah, totally. In terms of being tactical, let's say you're starting in a company that is doing 1 million a year in revenue, and your role is to come in and just blow up the business, grow the revenue as quickly as possible, right? Um, you've got budget to play with. Let's just say it's you've got 50 grand a month
Yep.
to play with.
Yep.
What would your priorities be in coming into that company to grow their revenue?
What you want to do is I want to locate at the company what good looks like from the interior, both from a customer perspective and a sales marketing perspective. I want to know what they've done and who has it worked for. So what I would do is if a company is only doing 1 million in revenue, I want to meet with every one of their clients that they already have on board, and I want to find out exactly what they love about the company. right? And then I'm going to look at the clients that they lost or haven't been able to get. Why didn't they choose us, right? Because I need to know what differentiates us in the market. And I really need to size up the category. There's a new, not even new, but there's buzzwords around category design. And I've only gotten into studying this brilliantly recently by a couple of gentlemen out of a company called Play Bigger. But they talk about category design. You need to know exactly who you're going after. And what happens is, a lot of companies, they have a great product and they think that that's going to take them into the market that they want to go to. But being a core salesman, you know that there's graveyards filled with great products. If I can't help you and your company get other people excited or answer to a pain that it solves, you're never going to sell this, right? It's never going to move. So the key point is finding out exactly the problem and the pains that the company solves, why and how they do it better than anyone. So it's almost like 3 whys, right? You want to find out why anything, why now, and why us, right? The timeline and the priority. I would go in and I would build exactly, Alex, the engine that I said I would. I'd probably have some people on the interior, outbound, physically doing cold calling, email and such. I'd have the marketing engine to blanket that all, and then have a channel. Because the truth is that so many people that are building new companies, they're not completely reinventing the wheel, right? It's not something that's first time. It may be first to market, but there's similar things out there. So when you introduce yourself to a channel partner, find out who touches that customer, right? What kind of demographic has access into that? Because early on as a startup even a company up to 10, 20 million, your most valuable asset is always your people, but your valuable asset is access. So I need to figure out what's going to get me the biggest, most fastest amount of access in the shortest period of time, which is hence the SDRs, the marketing, and then the channel, right? Find out what else are people in that space buying. What are they aligning themselves with, right? And then align yourself with one of those partners to get you in there faster. And then while you're doing that, you're always analyzing the data, you're always seeing what works, and you have to be literally a junkie for all the good, the bad, the indifferent that comes in, right? So take the best customers, why do they love you? Take the customers that you had to really work to get to buy and love you, why did they love you over the one they had before? And then the ones that don't care about you or your product, keep them on like a drip campaign and such. But you need to find out who you impact in the market, how do you make their life easier, and how do you become a resource to solve that pain? I mean, it's relatively a little bit generic, but the modality is very, very straightforward.
100%, Robert. I love it. I love it. Yeah, totally. The basics work, you know?
They
Simple.
do, yeah. Don't get me wrong. The basics work, but you also you need to do the basics very, very well and always be getting better at them, if that makes sense. I don't think I'm smarter than anybody else, but I have a system now that has worked at multiple companies that were selling something completely different than the past one. A couple of them we've been able to sell. Those are the exciting ones. I will say this, having a timeline in place greatly increases the sense of urgency because normally when I go into companies, I've got to convince the company to go from a product company to a sales company. And I've got to get everyone on board. Again, once the category is focused in on, I've got to partner up with the CEO and make sure that he's okay with making sure everyone at the company is telling the same story, right? Because early in its life cycle, no matter if you're in engineering or accounts payable, other departments, everyone's a part of sales because that's where the company needs to go, that direction. So any modality that you can have, whether it's marketing, cross-sell, upsell and such, you need to really make sure everyone's communicating to the market the same way.
Totally. And obviously plans for Nsight. What are the plans over the next year to 3 years? What does that look like for you guys?
Right. So we've been very fortunate where we've had literally exponential and explosive growth. We've grown over 100% the last 2 years. And even the last, I'd say 9-10 months, we've broken all our own targets, except we're already blown through the quarter. So we're finding that we're getting better at communicating our story to larger infrastructure potential clients, like I said, health systems and such. And we've also branched out. We've got now our proprietary software that helps with billing data and scheduling data and interactive with EHRs. We've gotten better at integration. So the stuff that we started doing at our core, we have gotten better at, and on top of that, expanded our audience. And on top of that, we've done great work. We have consistent feedback. We impact lives every day. It is very fortunate to have a position where not only you're doing great work with people you love working with, if you're able to make an impact on someone's life and have a positive impact on it, whether it's someone calling for help or us seeing a low reading on a blood pressure cuff and one of my nurses reaching out and that person either needing to go to the ER and we get them help, that's an impact. That could save someone's life, And we are mission driven, but we're also understand that the better we get, the better our patients do, the better our clinics do. So we've been fortunate where we've grown double again over year. The goal is this year, we're potentially looking for partners in the sense that we've become very valuable to the market because Michael Chulo, our CEO, to give him credit, this is we have no debt, we have no outside capital. He funded this thing on his own with his other two companies. He's, a brilliant serial entrepreneur. And when you go to market and you have great margins, great EBITDA, and you're huffing at about 50 million on growth next year to do about 70, 80 in revenue, the market tends to like you. So we've been just, let you on the inside, we've been fielding a lot of calls for partnerships and potential capital infusions. I can't speak for my CEO. I know he's entertained some of it, but right now what we're doing seems to be working. However, I do know that he wants to grow exponentially. So if we do look to things around M&A and expansion, we would probably need outside capital for that. As we're going, we can scale at one rate, but if we want to become, let's say, $1 billion valuation, we need other avenues to help us expand that.
Totally. And you think the $1 billion valuation is possible within a reasonable time frame? Do you have any plans?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And if you would have asked me that 9-10 months ago, I would have said, maybe, let me really see what it looks like. But at the pace and scale that we're growing and with the partnerships that we have on deck that we're getting closer to close, it certainly is. We just completed a partnership with a fascinating company, fascinating CEO named Dustin Freckleton, who owns a company called Happy Ring. So Happy Ring is like Aura, if you're familiar with the Aura ring, where it gets biometrics on a ring. And we're partnering, I don't know if you can see that, but we're partnering with them because Happy Ring is one of the only FDA approved companies to study sleep apnea. So that opens us up to a whole new demographic. And what they're offering on that ring and getting better and better, that's potential partnership access for us that they're helping us get. So you scale one way. It's the old saying, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. We're starting to see that picture of who we should go together with is really starting to take shape and take form. And again, we find ourselves in a very fortunate situation where those companies are equally as excited about growth and the service that we provide. It's not easy to do what we do. We have a call center. We have troops of nurses that check all these patients. A lot of hospitals try to run these programs and build them on their own. Only 2 or 3 years later, realize that the scale, capital intensive, and capacity is daunting. So that's where we're at a good time.
Totally. And wrapping up now, is there one piece of advice that you could give to your younger self when starting in sales, and then also more recent over the last few years?
So younger self starting in sales is a great question. I think the same thing that I always tell people when I do talks or have conversations like this is to stay curious and never stop learning. I've been doing this 20 plus years. I still devour, sales books on a weekly basis. I'm always interested in new ways people are doing things. I think one of the things I would lead on with is just keep in mind that no matter what technologies or tactics you learn and use, the human component of it cannot be stressed enough. My sales career literally changed from light to dark, or dark to light, when I was trained on the psychology of how people think and why people buy and how you help people and how you develop trust on very short timelines. When you come in as a resource to people, if you can empathize, then that's the master skill of intent. Most people, they don't have that chip and they get into sales and they think that, oh, but my product's better, feature benefits. No one gives a damn anymore. I mean, most clients, no matter what you're selling, I don't know, 70, 80% of them are already educated on the product or the service that you offer. They're just trying to see if you're going to help them. And when I started focusing on that human component and empathy, how do I make this person's life better? How do I help them do what they do better? The game changed for me. And then I built the management and the coaching pieces and the system around that, and we've never looked back. So if I could tell something to my younger self is just focus on that. Don't always worry about how to deliver the bells and whistles. Be more critical of the story that you can guide people through and show them why it matters.
Amazing, Robert. Amazing. Mate, it's been great to have you on. Really appreciate your time, and looking forward to seeing your success.
Yeah, Alex, thank you so much. It's been a nice
Thanks
change.
so much, Robert.
Be well, my friend.